How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today, I want to talk about why you're probably further ahead in crypto than you think, or why you're actually doing better in crypto than you think, based on a variety of different metrics. Over the last year, I think many of us, maybe the last 2 years, have felt beaten down in the market. Right when we start to think things get better, they fall down a little bit, and then we keep on falling, and then some new crypto exchange blows up. The fact is, if you have not had your crypto taken away on some major exchange or stable coin or something, you're probably doing better than most people. But that's not the only thing that we have to look at today that shows that you're doing better than most people. And even if you are someone that got affected by a different exchange, or even if you don't have as much crypto as we're going to talk about here today, the fact is you can still put together a plan to try to get into a place where you are exceeding the average person, where you have more crypto, where you are more set up to take advantage of the next bull run. And you can make that plan today. So let's take a look at what's changed over the last year. First of all, let's just take a look at Robinhood's monthly active users. This is back their second quarter of 2021. They had 21.3 million monthly active users. As of their last report, they are actually up from the month before, but they have 12 million. So they've been cut down almost by 50%. A lot of people are just leaving the markets, and there's no question about why that is. It's because the markets are down. If we look at ARKK, the flagship ETF for ARK, they're down about 75% from the high. Now, they had a big run up, but being down 75% flushes a lot of people out of the market. And a lot of people thought Cathie Wood was genius back during this bull run. She did seem like she was onto something. Other stocks that people thought were even safer than a lot of the small tech stocks in Cathie Wood's portfolio are down significantly too. I mean, Meta, which was kind of a darling of the last 10 years in the stock market's down 55%, and they have a lot of free cash flow. Tesla is down 51%, and they've actually been pushing good numbers, showing great growth still. Even less risky stocks or less tech-oriented stocks like Union Pacific Railroads is down 31% from their peak. So with everything being down, the fact is crypto is naturally down as well. During a bear market, we're going to fall down. Now, crypto has fallen about 60% in terms of market cap. Now, it was down much more than that about a month ago, but right now we're down about 60% from the peak. Obviously, a lot of cryptos have blown up, whether it was, Solana falling down 97% or something from peak to the bottom, or whether it's something like Luna Classic or Luna that fell down 99.999%. A lot of exchanges and hedge funds leveraging, there's been a lot flushed out of the system. Now, the realized price for Bitcoin is sitting around 19,900 right now, which means that if you bought below this number, you're doing better than the majority of people that bought Bitcoin in the past. Now, that doesn't mean that this is still a bad price to be buying it. When you look at Bitcoin on a chart, we rarely fall below this 200-week moving average. Now, that's exactly where we're at right now. We've been rejected by this $25,000 200 mark several times in the last week and a half, which is basically where the 200-week moving average is, right around 25,000. So this represents a pretty good buying zone. We typically have only been under for less than a few weeks, usually just a day or two in previous bear markets. But of course, as time goes on, we have diminishing returns, which means the 200-week moving average is going to be lower as time goes on relative to how low we can fall. So buying under this 200-week moving average, a lot of people were just praying to be able to do that one day. So if you've been buying recently, you're probably doing better than most people who bought much higher than you did. Now, the Bitcoin supply is at 19.3 million Bitcoin. A lot of these are lost. Probably 4 to 5 million Bitcoin are lost or are in Satoshi's wallet. But even if we just take the full amount or the full supply right now and divide it by everyone on the earth, every person on this earth, assuming they start from zero, can have 0.002 Bitcoin, which is not a lot. At today's price, that's under $50 worth of Bitcoin. But we're not going to be dividing this by every person on the earth and really get a good answer for how much you should hold, because most people don't have access to this video. Most people don't know what Bitcoin is. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have $50 to go invest in Bitcoin if you look in different nations around the world. So even if we just look at the number of millionaires, if we have 56 million millionaires on Earth, that would mean that we would have about 0.34 Bitcoin for every millionaire. But when we look at the amount of supply on exchanges, it's much lower than 19.3 million. We don't have that much circulating. A lot of people hold a lot of Bitcoin, like MicroStrategy, like Satoshi, like other big investors. So when we divide the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges by the number of millionaires, we have 0.034 Bitcoin, which is a little bit more than $500 worth at this point. Now, I realize that this number might be a little bit misleading because as time goes on, if the price goes up, most people that are holding right now would probably sell a little bit. A lot of people would sell a little bit if we went up pretty drastically. They would take some profits. So the amount on exchanges might not be the best number to look at. So let's assume that half of the Bitcoin, in existence right now, or about 10 million Bitcoin, someone would be willing to sell. That means we have 10 million Bitcoin, and let's take half the world's millionaires. 25 million millionaires are willing to buy some Bitcoin. That means that each of them could have about 0.4 Bitcoin. So I really think if you're above 0.5 or even 1 Bitcoin, that's an exclusive club. And you can see that when we look at the Bitcoin distribution. The amount of people that actually, or the amount of wallets, I should say, that hold Bitcoin, that have over 1 Bitcoin is very small. We're talking about 2.22% of wallets have more than 1 Bitcoin. Even 0.1 Bitcoin, only 10% of wallets have more than 0.1 Bitcoin. And you have to realize too, some people can have multiple wallets, but this is just an easy way of looking at it. That means the majority of people that hold Bitcoin can't even afford 1 Bitcoin, can't even afford 0.1 Bitcoin. So these are the people that are in the know, that know about Bitcoin, know how to buy it, and they still can't afford that much. Now, again, I realize some people could have multiple wallets. Some people probably have 5 or 10 wallets, but I still think this is true, that many people can't afford this amount of Bitcoin. So I think if you are someone that's still around in crypto, if you have 0.1 Bitcoin, for example, or an equivalent in a different cryptocurrency, I would really shoot for 0.1 Bitcoin. I think you're ahead of the curve. If you can get 1 Bitcoin, I think it's even better. Of course, you have to be willing to risk that. You have to be willing to invest in Bitcoin and realize that you're missing out on other opportunities and other investments. Bitcoin's a different risk profile than a lot of other cryptocurrencies and a lot of other assets in general. So you have to actually believe crypto is going to do well. But if you're wondering how you stack up compared to other people in terms of stacking sats, I think you're probably doing pretty well. Now, if you aren't up to 0.1 Bitcoin, if you're not up to 1 Bitcoin, I would set a plan. If you really want to get to that level, set a plan right now. If you bought just $100 worth of Bitcoin a week for the next 6 months, based on today's prices, you should be able to get up to 0.1 Bitcoin. I would consider doing that. If you're going to be able to get up to 0.1 Bitcoin, maybe you want to shoot for something higher. If you're able to buy $1,000 a week for the next 6 months, you would have over 1 Bitcoin. Again, I realize you might not be able to afford that. I realize some people can afford much more than that, though. Those are just some examples of what you could do. Now, personally, I think that most people should try to get up to 1 Bitcoin. If you're watching this video, I think you can get there. Let me know if you want me to do this with other cryptocurrencies as well, though. We can take a look at the different distributions and see what makes you elite to be, holding Ethereum, what makes you elite holding Polygon or some other cryptocurrencies. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see future videos just like this, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.